I gotta check my bank account because I'll probably lose $15 again. So
No, there's nothing on the line here. I mean, you already lost your $15, so
yeah.
I expect
Well, thank you.
my PayPal
Now you might lose your respect.
I'm a very poor boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Model Citizen Show.
What's up, fellow citizens, and welcome to the #1 podcast that discusses the great family story in cinema, the greatest family story in cinema, and nuances. Jesus, you can't interrupt me. And nuances of defecation. I am Max Roberts, the host of this edition of the Model Citizen Show. The Model Citizen Show is my outlet to nonsensically talk about whatever is on my mind with the cutest boys I know. Speaking of cute boys, with me, as always, is the blue-eyed wonder, Logan Moore.
Hi, how's it going?
Also, we have the pretty piano boy, Michael Louise.
What's a piano boy?
What? No, that is
All right,
not
I like
piano.
it. I like it. Let's keep on going.
And lastly, we've got the South Side sweetheart, Mario Rivera.
Hi.
Before we begin, remember to check out modelcitizensmedia.com for great content like Beneath the Pixel.
Yes!
It's called Behind the Pixel. Reeling in the Years and Millennial Gaming Speak. All of the podcasts are available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and most podcast apps in audio and on YouTube in video. You can follow us on Twitter at ModelPods. You can follow me on Twitter at MaxTheWhite, Logan at Moreman12, Michael at super_ruse, and Mario at that Mario Rivera. Additionally, remember to like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel or podcast feed, and leave some comments below. Lastly, the Maharaja is the champ. You cannot hinder Jinder.
Well, Max, that's great that you mentioned that. Yes, Jinder Mahal is the champ.
Before we get any deeper,
Jinder Mahal is the champ, though. It's one of the great turnarounds in WWE history.
Michael wrote this for me this week, and I had fun with it. And that was not piano. What is that?
That says "Pretty Pinoy Boy," which Pinoy is the kind of slang
Pretty
for
piano,
Filipino.
bro.
Doesn't look like piano at all. I messed up though. I noticed. I meant and the nuances of defecation. I messed up there.
All right. Well, I blame.
The rest was great though.
Yeah, I blame dyslexia on the piano boy.
It's fine. Our greatest enemy.
Otherwise,
What would that even mean?
I don't know.
he's just a big fan of fucking Billy Joel. I don't know. He just loves Billy Joel.
It was that's what I read. It was pretty great. I had fun with that, even though the greatest family story in cinema.
And the greatest family story in cinema.
I feel like
Fast and Furious.
we could have been rougher.
That's what I
on
thought.
Max. We could have been rougher on Max. I was expecting a lot of.
That's what I was saying before.
Insults.
There was a lot of things where I put in there originally, and I had to take it out because I felt really bad. So
I appreciate that. I really do.
maybe next time. Now that we got like a kind of a format here, right? Maybe I could add some like more mean spirited. Just remember that it's for fun. I'm not actually. I don't hate Max, but I like to pick on Max because I don't know. It's easy or something.
I'm an easy target.
But like when you have a Twitter handle that says Max the White and you're legitimately the whitest person I know, that's your fault.
That up. It's genetics and my fault. I made up that Twitter handle at a Buffalo Wild Wings one night with my cousin. It was.
Did you have
All right.
Thai curry wings? Because those are my favorite.
No, probably Asian Zane and mango habanero.
Oh wow! I was expecting garlic parmesan.
Garlic parm is good when you're not really feeling the heat.
Wow. You're living up to your name, to Max the White.
Yeah. Garlic parm is like a neutral flavor.
It is fine. A lot of people actually love it.
It's pretty basic.
That's my girlfriend's favorite.
It's a basic, safe flavor.
Yep. But yeah, you mentioned that the Maharaja is the champ, and I like to
hinder. You cannot hinder Jinder. I don't know.
No, you cannot hinder Jinder.
Is it?
Okay, hold on. Can we have our 60 seconds of wrestling for this podcast real quick? Michael, did you actually think he was gonna win that?
I had an inkling that he was going to, but I wasn't. At some point, I'm like, he might not win it, and that's fine. But yeah, he won it. I'm totally excited, dude. That's awesome. I'm really happy that he won
I
it.
hated Jinder Mahal for a
Really?
really long time. Yeah,
I
he
thought
was
he
like
was
my
fine.
least favorite guy in wrestling. I mean, he was in 3MB. Remember
Yeah.
that?
He was.
That was a low point. And then
Yeah.
I just really don't like Randy Orton though. So
Yeah.
beat Randy Orton is totally fine by me.
Yeah. I mean, Randy Orton's time was, I think it was a bit long.
His time was up. His time
Yeah, his time was up, and they needed to get a new guy. And I think Jinder Mahal, I like his gimmick thing. I mean, it's the same old thing, though. It's still like the whole, like, playing on his race and stuff like
from
that.
another country comes in, takes
Yeah.
the belt, and then yells at the white Americans.
But I like the way he's doing it because he's not being mean. I mean, he is, but he's like saying things that necessarily aren't true. I mean, that are true. I mean, because he like. There's definitely people in that audience that do think what he's saying. So,
And that's the best part about wrestling.
that's the best part. So I'm happy with it. I did, dude. That Brazongo match was so
good with the mop.
Oh, it was so
and
good,
Grandma
dude.
Breezy.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so good. So
Max, you saw Aliens this weekend,
wait,
right?
hold on. There's one more thing I
God.
have to say. One more thing.
Damn it!
The match that stole the show, I think, is the AJ Styles and Kevin Owens.
That was a really good match.
That was an amazing match. Next to Brazongo.
AJ Styles is the one that's married to
No idea.
CM Punk, right? That's so beautiful.
You guys should start a video called The Wrestling Minute and have it be a minute where you talk about wrestling.
We could do that.
There's your
that's-
short form content.
Actually,
Boom.
maybe a good idea.
You guys
Maybe.
could talk for 15 minutes, but then edit it down to 1 minute. You know, do those jump cuts those hip kids like to watch on YouTube.
That would be really, really, really hard.
I'm glad
We could try.
I'm glad you
Okay.
still are not correcting me for my CM Punk joke.
I didn't hear what
it's
you said.
AJ
I thought
Lee.
you said something
There
about
you
CM
go.
Punk. AJ Lee, I miss her.
May she rest in peace.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Well, yes. Anyway, you cannot hinder Jinder. He will be defending his title at Money in the Bank. Did you see also who's going to be at the Money in the Bank match?
Yeah, it's in the actual Money in the Bank match, isn't
Yeah.
it? Well, Sami Zayn beat Baron Corbin, so he got that spot, but then Baron Corbin beat the living snot out of him. So I'm gonna assume that Baron Corbin will take that spot by proxy.
Yes. Yep. Okay,
So
you're right
it's
so
gonna be Corbin and then AJ and then Shinsuke and then Dolph and then
Yeah.
is Kevin in it? Did they put him in it or no?
No, I think it's just them 5, which was weird. I thought there's usually
Okay, so
6.
AJ, Shinsuke, Baron, Dolph, and who's the 5th?
AJ, Baron,
Is it
Shinsuke,
Kevin?
Sami Zayn.
I think Sami Zayn's not in it anymore. I don't know.
No, he
The
is.
Rock, Andre the Giant.
I would like Shinsuke
Max,
to win it.
name
but-
10 wrestlers. Go.
No, better name 5
Andre
wrestlers.
the Giant, the Rock, CM Punk. Because he came. Oh, who's the big guy that was in the UFC? Brock Lesnar,
I will accept
and-
the Maharaja.
Maharaja, and I feel like I had one more. That was 5, but I feel like I had one more.
There's Hulk Hogan, too.
Hulk Hogan.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
All right, we can end wrestling.
Macho
Scott
Man
Hall.
Randy Savage.
We can end wrestling minute if you guys want. I'm sorry.
I can't remember the last one. It'll come back
Okay.
to me later.
So Hulk Hogan was in Rocky 3.
I'm
then
ready.
later
I'm ready for this. Yeah.
Got rebooted / renewed.
Well, this okay.
when
We
they
got
did Creed.
we can do a better segue. The WWE has gone through many eras, right? And like many of
Sorry,
the
Mario.
similar to how a lot of the movies we watch,
Like the
they get-
WWE, Leprechaun was a great movie, and then the WWE decided to remake it with
They
Leprechaun
did.
Origins.
they did. They sure
my
did
gosh.
do that.
Let's
What
talk
is-
about
What is it that you two are trying to bring up so hard?
The greatest reboots. Well, no, it's just talk about some reboots. And,
Hold on, we got to
and-
reboot this segment. We got to start over.
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to say is we thought this week we could talk about like reboots and reimaginings and maybe their place in the industry, maybe some of our favorites. I don't know. Take us down.
Max has to be so prim and proper about
this came up.
I wanted to be clear.
This came up because Max and I don't know if Mario saw it, but I know Logan in it. We saw Alien Covenant this week. I like it, but Max doesn't like it. That's fine.
And it's okay not to like it. It's okay to like it because you don't have to like or not like everything.
Okay, hold on. I want to ask Max one question real quick. You said you wish you never saw it, and I want to call BS on that statement. I think if you had known there was an alien movie out there that you never witnessed and you didn't know if it was good or bad, it would destroy you inside until you finally saw it and you knew one way or another. That's all I'll say.
I mean, I wish I never saw The Last Airbender either.
Well, you should have known that.
But I was a child. I was a child when that one came out. So
I mean, we weren't that young. We were like, what, middle school?
What? They came out in 2010, right?
Yeah.
I graduated high school already.
I was 20.
I was 37 years old. M. Night Shyamalan betrayed me. That was the greatest plot twist of all. That movie was bad.
Yeah, but he's come back.
Yeah, he's really good.
He has come back. Holy
Speaking of his comeback, reboots and stuff.
That's right.
It's a spoiler for a movie that don't just forget about.
I mean that doesn't make sense. Okay, actually, I know the end of that movie. And
you do?
Now I don't want to see it because that ending would have no effect on me because I've never seen the movie that it's tied to.
Well, you didn't
have any effect on me.
What's good about the movie though is you don't have to though. And then if you see that, you're like, oh, this means so much more. If you then watch Unbreakable, then it gives you more context.
Yeah, I liked Split a lot, and I think that ending that they had made me like it a bit more just because Unbreakable is like my favorite, one of my favorite movies. I love that movie a lot.
He almost said it was his favorite, and then we were gonna have to go back to episode 8 and show him that episode.
It's on like a top 10 level of one of my favorites. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie, especially like in the time that it came out. And if you were not a huge comic book person, there wasn't many that were happening at the time. The only ones that were X-Men and Blade,
Spider-Man.
It's not like today where it's like 3 movies or 5. I'm sorry, like 6 movies a year where we get something that's awesome or supposed to be awesome.
Yep.
You know, so it was kind of big.
Okay, Max.
Yes.
What's your opinion on the Maharaja being the of reboots and stuff like that?
Just reboots in general?
Yeah, like what do you think about them?
I mean, I feel like the market has an oversaturation. It's almost exhausting. But then I'm also part of the problem because like I'm going to see Baywatch tomorrow because I think it looks funny because
weren't the reviews dreadful?
I don't know. I didn't rate them. It looks like 21 Jump Street just with The Rock. And I'm okay with that. And also, my aunt wanted to see it, so I was going to go with her to see it.
That's not a movie I'd want to see with family members.
But I want to see this. I want to know the situation with you and your aunt after that movie theater. I want you to tell me all about the genital jokes and the possible slow motion boobs. I want to know all about that. So tell me everything.
I can report next week. I mean, I think it's going to be fine. It's going to be, I think, going to be funny. I've been staying away from trailers and stuff just to save jokes. So I don't, I'm like, I saw all these jokes in the trailers. But like reboots just kind of are everywhere, and not just in movies, but in games too. And sometimes I wish there was original content, like movie wise, like look at Nightcrawler. That movie came out and that was super refreshing. And now Baby Driver's coming out and that looks really good. But then, the 3rd Spider-Man reboot is coming out this summer, and I'm going to be in that theater watching that movie.
Isn't Baby Driver just a prequel to the movie Driver?
Yeah, Drive with Ryan Gosling.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or Speed with
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, well, it's a prequel to Drive because if you notice how he listens to so much music and he has the ringing in a ear, well, he actually went deaf, and that's why in Drive he doesn't talk very much.
I've never seen Drive, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, well,
homework to do.
Yeah, he's deaf and he doesn't talk very much in the movie.
Ryan Gosling?
Actions speak louder than words, Max.
That's right.
That's quite true. What about you, Michael? What about the reboot world?
I mean, I agree with you to some extent. I think I wish there were more original things. Like you said, like when Ex Machina came out or Whiplash, those are two of my favorite movies, and it's because it's something that I haven't really seen before. But there are times where I'm really into it. Like any comic book movie, I'm pretty excited for. I mean, I guess I consider those. They're not reboots or anything, but they're like reimaginings of comic book characters and stuff like that. Or like
especially when the franchise has been done before in movie form, like Spider-Man or X-Men.
Yeah, or like when what was it like when Alien came out? I'm always really excited for an Alien movie. There's Blade Runner coming out that now I'm really excited for. But yeah, I think there's room for it. I just think there's so much of it that it's kind of spoiled the. What's the term I'm trying to think of? I can't think of it right now. It's just too much. There's just too much of it.
There's some like
overwhelming.
There's great examples of like, oh, that's an awesome take on an older material. Like for instance, one of my movies that I loved growing. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite movie. Movies that I loved growing up in the 90s was The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
I think I love that movie. Like I will watch that movie if it comes out on TV.
It's a great roller coaster. Down at Universal Studios.
I haven't gone on it. I've always seen it.
It is great.
It is a really cool one.
It's awesome.
That movie is a remake of the original Universal Mummy movie, and now we're doing on the third remake with freaking Tom Cruise.
What was the second remake?
The Mummy.
What was
the Brendan Fraser? I'm sorry. It's a remake of the original Universal movie.
I gotcha. Yes. I wasn't thinking of it like
and
that.
Don't worry, guys. And don't worry, guys.
So different.
Now this new Mummy movie is going to tie in to Universal's Dark Universe.
That's the dumbest. Who asked for that?
No one, but it's going to sell because everything's a cinematic universe now.
My favorite thing, though, is that they actually started this a couple of years ago with a movie called Dracula Untold. And then just recently, they're like, nah, that's not part of this. Like, that was actually supposed to be the actual beginning of it.
The first one?
Yeah, and then no one saw it. And they were like,
The Mummy is the new one?
Yeah, The Mummy's like, no, this is the first one. Don't worry about Dracula Untold. Nobody's going to fucking...
So what they say? I think Johnny Depp's going to be the Invisible Man, and Javier Bardem is Frankenstein, I think.
Yeah. And then next
Javier
movie...
Bardem, good Frankenstein choice. I'll say that, but I have no...
But the Frankenstein monster. Frankenstein's
monster. Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad you're one of those people.
I have to be one of those guys.
I would have done the same.
He can be both. Why not? Just be both.
No, please don't do both. That doesn't make sense.
No. But these are all movies that we're naming that they're coming out again. These are all things that have been done over the course of many years.
I got a question.
Yes.
Do you think this is to go into a team movie called the reboot of Monster Squad?
I mean, that joke's already been made, and yes, I hope so, and I hope the Wolfman has nards. I want that so badly. I would hope that it ties into Stranger Things, and the Stranger Thing kids are just the kids in Monster Squad. Like, that would be so fucking cool.
That'd be ridiculous.
I know. That movie's fucking weird and dark. Can we just talk about Monster Squad and how really weird it is?
I've never seen Monster Squad.
I don't know what Monster Squad is.
So imagine all those characters, but they're all hanging out in a house, and Dracula's collecting all of them.
Adam Sandler do that animated movie where monsters
in a house? Transylvania. Come on.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, man.
Why are you saying "come on" to yourself, Max?
I didn't say "come on."
That was Mario.
Oh well.
That would be awesome if you did, though.
I guess my broad thing with reboots is that they just seem very lazy, and
that's true.
I don't know. It's an easy, quick cash in for Hollywood most of the time. Well, with movies specifically, I just don't understand why people can't take elements from past movies and then reimagine them with their own script and their own original story. And
because that requires work.
That's harder. Yes. But like, look at something like La La Land. Very much, I don't want to say, very much ripping off is not a good word. Kindly taking from
inspired, homage. Like,
it is taking from those movies, those musicals of the past, and bringing them into a modern day setting. The script though is all completely original, and I think in the end it was the story that won people over more than the music or anything like that. Even though the music's really good,
I get that, but I also get the thrill of like, I get to see that thing that I love again. Like
I also get that seeing that thing I really loved is going to make way more money than La La Land will.
Yeah,
and that's the bottom line for them, and it's because it works. And there's always that one thing, that one movie or property or franchise or whatever that you will go out and spend money for. Like Michael said earlier, like I'm always excited for an alien movie. I'm in the same boat. Here's my $15-$20 to go see this movie, but then I can see the remaking of The Mummy, roll my eyes and not go see that. It's like there's always a weakness. It works in games too. There's plenty of games I'd buy HD remasters for. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a recent.
See, those to me feel different because they are still at the fundamental core the same thing. While a movie, it's like this. It's a whole new direction. Actors, the story might take a weird divergence from for instance, a successful reboot for me, and this is just me. I don't know if it's everybody, but I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead movies, and I actually really like the rebooted movie that they did. Like it was enough homage and more new that I enjoyed a lot. And I like the characters and I like what they were doing with it, despite not having the main thing that brings those movies that are awesome, Bruce Campbell. I still enjoy that movie. A bad example is probably Total Recall and RoboCop.
Hey, man, RoboCop was pretty sick.
I was going to say, I heard a lot of people actually like that RoboCop.
I like RoboCop.
It's okay.
I've never seen RoboCop.
It's just you take this movie that's rated R and then you try to neuter it.
Terminator Genesis,
which I actually kind of enjoy.
That movie was awesome.
I kind of enjoy that movie.
Was it
freaking awesome?
I kind of enjoy that movie only because it takes the two things that I do love, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, mixes them together, spills a little sprinkles on them, and it's kind of fun that the bad guy ends up being a particular person, even though the trailer spoils it.
If you go into that movie and you know it's going to be a flaming hot pile of trash, then it is so much fun. Like I went into it knowing that I'm like, this is not going to be a quality Terminator movie, but I am so ready to watch this, and it was really good.
All right, that's fair. I didn't see it because it looks so bad.
If you like 1 and 2, it just that's fun. But let's just say like what was it? Salvation. I fucking hate Salvation.
But Christian Bale
added nothing. I would rather watch Eddie Furlong.
Did you guys ever see that set breakdown Christian Bale had on the set of Terminator? Terminator. That's crazy.
Did you hear the dubstep remix of it?
No.
So fucking good.
Yeah, that's been widely circulated, that whole thing. Yeah, I guess with jumping to games though, just because my PlayStation's on in the foreground here, or the background. No, that's the background. That would be the foreground.
It's on in front of your face.
Yeah,
it's all a matter of perspective, man.
I'm trying to think of like some good like actual
Tomb Raider
reboots. Tomb Raider's a fantastic one.
Tomb Raider.
I was going to say Battlefront is another good one in my opinion.
I hear that Resident Evil game is supposed to be pretty good.
It's not a reboot though. It's
kind of both. Yeah.
I think it's rebooting the franchise.
Get to the end.
Yeah.
But it's still like 7
elements.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Resident Evil 7. I have no.
Doom is actually a really good one.
Doom is a perfect reboot. Yeah.
Didn't play that game, but I hear it's pretty good.
Well, instead of playing Resident Evil 7, you should just play Doom.
Max doesn't play mini games though.
I have been because I've been seeing it on sale for like $20 lately.
Yeah, you should have gotten
it. After watching those no clip documentaries on Doom, finally, I was like,
dude,
maybe I should play this game.
You watched that documentary series. It's a great documentary series. Wouldn't you agree?
That Danny O'Dwyer dude seems pretty cool, right?
Yeah, he's a really rad dude.
Yeah.
Seems like an okay guy.
He was at Kind of Funny Live too, and I saw him. That was he? Cool.
I
saw him at E3, and I had no idea who he was.
He was on the Kind of Funny or the Game Over Greggy show tonight, apparently.
Yeah.
Nice. I'd love to hear him on other podcasts soon.
I know. He's really good at that.
Yeah. I always like it when he guests on other shows.
I saw Dan Reichert at Kind of Funny Live too, and I waved to him, and he waved back. He's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Star Wars Battlefront.
Battlefront's a good reboot. Now we're just listing good reboots. Okay, so like, what makes a good reboot though? Because I think Doom with like the video games is a good example where you have to go back to the roots of what that franchise or that thing is that you're rebooting, but at the same time you have to put your own spin on it. So like with
Captures
Doom,
the spirit.
With Doom, it's fast. The weapons feel heavy and brutal, but then they add the whole new glory kill system, which totally changes the game top to bottom.
Yeah, I just think for at least Doom specifically, like it basically modernized. It's the modern take of what Doom is, like, to me. There's no way you could play a game that plays like even Doom 3 and play it now and be like, oh, this is a really good game. It's a brand new game. You know what I'm saying? Like
Doom 3 looks really bad now.
Doom 3 is okay. It doesn't.
For its time, it wasn't bad.
I mean,
because first-person shooters were still so youthful.
Well, even,
I guess.
Yeah, because it's on original Xbox, correct?
Yeah,
it was on PC first, and then it came on original Xbox like a year or two later.
I remember that's how I played it.
Yeah, and I played it on both, and like it's fine. And even back then, it was okay. It totally changed what Doom was. It went from like a really fast-paced shooter to more. It was very slow. Like
it was a horror game for the most part.
Yeah.
But in some ways, that's to me that's good. Like for instance, we talk about Aliens, and if you remember, it's the reverse in Aliens. It's Alien is like this like haunted house horror movie, and then you get to the sequel of it, and it's a totally different genre. And most people believe that.
I mean, a lot of the time, though, I mean, at least in that too, like that was. And this is, I believe it's this way, and I think it's constraints to how like film was, because that was like 1978 when that came out, 1979, and like you can't like if you've seen what the suit looks like for that thing,
I've seen it.
Like that does not look good.
Alien was supposed to be Jaws in space, like a B-tier horror film.
Yeah, and that was Ridley Scott's take on it, and then going to the second one, Aliens, it's James Cameron, and technology, I think, for movies had jumped at that point, and they were able to do the things that they were able to do.
And James Cameron.
And you give James Cameron a little bit more money, you know, because I mean, Terminator is kind of a small budget movie, but it fucking works.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's a whole different thing, though. I mean, that's sequels, technically, I guess. I don't know if Aliens would have been considered a reboot or a sequel.
Sequel.
It is a sequel.
They added the S in the title.
Yeah. But yeah, I basically think that a good reboot takes the thing at its core, like what it is, and kind of just gives it its own take. Like the person will give their own take on that thing, and
there's
usually
always
it comes out well.
There's always the one thing that you'll cave for, you'll pursue. You'll be like, heck yeah, I'll play that reboot of a Star Wars game, even though it doesn't have story and the DLC is just as much as the regular game, but it doesn't matter because it's Star Wars and I like reboots. But then you'll see Madden 18, or Madden's a really bad example because that's just annualized.
For me to go back to the Evil Dead, for instance, that's the same thing like you just said. Like, yeah, it's an Evil Dead movie. I'm going to go see it. Like, I'm going to watch it.
For Evil Dead, like they even did, like the shots felt like the old movies, like some of them.
Yes, absolutely.
Do those like weird close-ups and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
it was super gory, and I mean, it was great. Like, I really liked the Evil Dead movie. I thought it was really great.
Yeah, for something that's completely separate from Bruce Campbell, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. And I think just hitting that nail on the head of just like getting the core of what that thing means to people. Yeah. And then kind of just putting a different take on it.
Yeah, kids in the cabin, fucking gory as hell, going back to its root. But then there's like an awesome spin with the characters, and like the main character is like a drug addict, and they don't believe her when bad shit's going on. And so when demons happen, it's weird, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
When those demons happen.
Yep.
Can music and musicians have reboots?
I say yes.
No.
Because
I mean,
the reason...
The musician will say that yes, but no.
Talk to Linkin Park.
I was just gonna bring them up because in like middle school and high school, they were my favorite band, and the new album just came out, and I realized I was like, man, I'm not excited for this thing at all. And I listened to the first half of it while I was in the car the other day, and I was like, this is rough.
That's not a reboot. That's a bad album. That's I mean, that's what that is. I mean, a reboot. I mean,
can they have it?
In a way, they could go back to their roots. Like, let's. I'm trying to think of a band that's. I mean, okay, let's look at Rush, right?
Oh, okay, of course.
That's the first.
Of course.
That's the band I could
go
to.
Oh God,
Pumpkins.
That's a good one.
Rush started out as like a classic rock band in the 70s, very proggy. Once they got to the 80s, they went more keyboard heavy. 90s was the time they were trying to go back to rock roots, and in some ways I guess that could be a reboot, but honestly I just consider it new music. Like, that's just how it is. It's them going back to their roots, but they're not rebooting their image or anything like that.
Okay, but would you apply that to the Beatles? Because in a lot of ways they kind of rebooted over time.
No, because again, they've just changed how they feel about things. It's writing music is a process of like feeling and how somebody feels, and I think that's a weird term to put with music, like rebooting.
Okay, that's why I asked. Because
I think maybe if you, let's say I'm just going to use Weezer because I've been listening to them. Let's say you listen to Weezer's Blue album, and then Weezer re-recorded the Blue album. Then sure, I guess that could be a thing. And I don't know if that's really been done. I know that they've played I saw Coheed, right? I saw Coheed a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. And they played Good Apollo and Burning Star 4 from front to back. And I guess if you were to put them in a recording studio and they recorded that again, even though it sounded literally exactly the same, I guess that would be a reboot, I guess. But I don't know. It's weird.
How about when a band becomes another band? Would you not consider that technically rebooting?
No.
Like Rage becoming Audio Slave? Or something like that?
Soundgarden becoming Audio Slave.
Well, it's the same.
It's Cornell's. It's not the same thing. It's Audio Slave is all Rage Against the Machine except for Zach De La Rosa. That's swapped with Chris Cornell.
I was thinking like Postal Service and like Def Cab for Cutie or some shit like that. Like members going together.
I don't think of that as a reboot because they're not trying to capture what they've got. They're trying to legitimately make new, different music. They're not trying to do Rage Against the Machine. They're not trying to do Soundgarden. They just have certain things that they like to do as musicians, and that sound comes out when they play together. So
there was this band, and the name is escaping me, but Chester from Linkin Park was the singer for this band.
Stone Temple Pilots.
No.
Yes.
That may be true, but that is not the band I'm thinking of. Darn, now it's gonna bug me. But they broke away and did an album, and it was more screamy and stuff, which that makes sense with what Michael was saying. Like, that's just they're making the sound they wanted to make. Crap, what was that band's name? It's gonna bug me.
Is it just forever. Like all the middle parts from all of the early Linkin Park albums?
Park songs,
just break down. And,
shut up! I'm about to break.
It's just that for 12 songs.
Shut up when I'm talking to you.
What I will say is, again, this is going to music that I like, so I'm going to say Coheed and Cambria. Like, when Coheed and Cambria does like an acoustic version of a song that they've done before, that to me is the closest thing to a reboot, but not really.
Let me jump in here and get my 2 cents. You can't reboot a band. Next question.
Yeah, true.
Like, I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, you can try to go back to your roots and find what it was that made your group special back in the day or something like that. And some groups can, but that's not a reboot. That's just, oh, hey, what used to make us a bunch of money back in the day? Let's go do that again. And more often than not, it doesn't work. Like Smashing Pumpkins, I feel like have been chasing that forever, but they don't have the same lineup anymore. It's just Billy Corgan acting like a freaking idiot. Like that guy has no idea what he's doing anymore with that band. So you just got to listen to all their old albums from the 90s. And
isn't he writing wrestling now?
He did with TNA for a long time, or Impact Wrestling, I guess it was. They got into a whole dispute and he left, and they owe him like hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars.
That doesn't sound familiar at all. Him getting in disputes with people.
Yeah,
breaking up with them.
No kidding. Yeah, he'd think James Eha was running freaking Impact Wrestling or something.
That's a good reference.
Pumpkins deep cut.
That was a deep cut. I dig it.
So yeah, you can't reboot music. I will say the medium where I think you can most easily reboot something, which we haven't touched on, is comics. Like that is so
I see that. Simple. I'm not even a comic book reader, and I see it happen
within
all the
the
time.
past 10 years. DC
I mean,
has
okay,
rebooted,
so even outside
like
of like even outside of the brand reboots and stuff like that, like think of the spin-off series that are always looking to retell a character's story, whether
Archie?
it be like Archie. Think of
I'm not talking about Riverdale. I'm talking about the actual Archie comics.
Archie comics are different.
Like Mark Waid writing.
Yeah,
it's a totally thing.
Isn't there a Flintstones comic?
There is, and it's rebooted, and it's actually amazing.
It's actually supposed to be really good. I'm talking mainly like, look at all the Earth 2 stuff that they've done lately with both Batman and Teen Titans and Superman. And then you've got Ultimate Spider-Man, which was back in the day kind of a reboot of the original Spider-Man stories. Obviously not one-to-one original same, but that same... Let's start back at the beginning, Uncle Ben, all that crap. So that's a reboot in that sense. Then you got, obviously, like we said, the big brand reboots, all the new 52 stuff.
What's it called now?
Rebirth.
Rebirth. Oh, Rebirth, yeah.
So, which has actually, I feel like I need to go back through and read some of those comics because they're about to do the Watchmen thing, and I'm totally in on the Watchmen thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's so weird.
I even thought I would hate it, but I'm actually like, yeah, go ahead. Tell your story. I'm interested.
I mean, Dr. Manhattan's going to throw down with Superman, and
his big blue dong is going to just be flopping. Smack Batman
not
in the
really going to
face.
be I mean, Superman's really strong, but Dr. Manhattan could just split his atoms apart.
If we don't see a blue dong in a DC comic, I'm going to be upset.
You won't.
Can we do? I'm
just saying.
Let the blue dong fly.
That's right. Just smack Damian Wayne right across the face.
Blue dongs fly free.
Honestly, if anything, Darkseid should probably fight him, right? Am I wrong to say that?
Fight Dr. Manhattan?
Yeah.
I mean...
Dude, no one can fight Dr. Manhattan. That's the problem. He's a borderline god.
So is Darkseid, is he not?
He's a new god. So, there's that.
Good argument.
Can we take just 5 seconds to say how horrible Final Crisis was and then move on?
It's real bad.
Lives?
It's real bad. Never happened.
I don't understand a single thing that happened.
That's the thing about Grant Morrison, right? Grant Morrison, sometimes a genius, sometimes just the most convoluted storytelling you could ever read. It's ridiculous.
Did you ever read his book, Super Gods? Where he retells the history from his perspective of all the different eras of comic books. It's really awesome. He'll talk about like the history of like Wonder Woman and her creator and how it's a sex thing. But then he'll like talk about how he's doing drugs in Kathmandu on a roof. Like that dude's completely out of there. And then he'll go talk about like Shazam and how that was created. It's a weird book, but like I love the guy.
I don't like Grant Morrison. Like people always praise his runs on Batman and stuff like that, and I'm like,
Did you read Batman and Robin?
I'll pass on that.
Did you read Batman and Robin?
Batman and Robin was good.
That was real good. Very quietly. Yeah, it's real good.
He did do All-Star Superman, didn't he?
He did. He did do
that. So that's actually good.
Yes. That then like quietly.
Yeah.
This superhero discussion kind of popped a question in my head because it seems the most prevalent within all the forms of media we've talked about, the movies, comics, and video games. And I was thinking of Batman specifically. Like, Batman started as a comic book character, and then he was, TV, and then movies, and then
serial.
Now we've got games. Like, so all of those things have technically told similar or the same stories. Bruce, dad died, parents died, dresses up like a bat, fights for justice. Do all of those things, like when a new Batman game comes out, how does that make you feel when it's tied into, this character so well and so intimately? Is it treading on that ground of being a reboot, a reimagining? Because even Spider-Man this summer, we're getting the third movie reboot, but he's done comics and
Well,
tons of games.
It's just a new story.
I do. What actually to bring up you, Logan. So to bring up Batman, for instance, there was a game that came out last year that I guess not a lot of people like because the game was broken. Right? Is that the reason why you didn't like the game?
It's technically on a technical level, it performs poorly.
I agree. It does perform poorly. The story, though, I mean, the beginning portion of the story was to me interesting because it does take a whole left turn. It is a different type of Batman story, technically.
I mean, we can get into the weeds about why I didn't like that series.
Sure.
But
is it because of like who the bad person is, Logan?
That bothered me a lot. Yes.
Really? Because I hate that person. Like that person means nothing.
Vicky Vale means nothing to me. She meant nothing. She means nothing to me in the comics. She didn't mean anything to me while I play that game. So when she turns out to be the villain, that is totally unwarranted. Like there was not that you need to foreshadow who the villain is or something like that. And they had kind of dropped hints that it would be her.
Yes.
So it was a blindside when it happened, but it felt like shock. Just purely shock you rather than like, oh, we're gonna do something interesting with this, which they went into her backstory in the following episode and stuff like that. But like, it was just weak. It was really weak, I thought.
See, I like that they changed the dynamics on a lot of the characters. They changed them up a bit. Like, I like the actually beginning half of Harvey Dent's story, but then he just becomes Two-Face regardless of whatever the fuck you do.
I do think his mental state, though, like the way you can end his story.
Yes, I agree.
Two-Face was the most interesting character. I
then I liked how Penguin was very different from he's been depicted before.
Penguin started out awesome, and then the longer that series went on, I was like, this dude kind of sucks.
Yeah, he becomes a whiny bitch, like very close. But I do like that at the core of it, though, it's what Wayne's family does to everyone that makes that story interesting for me.
It was a Bruce Wayne story.
It was a Bruce Wayne story with his family. That was like
more of a Thomas Wayne story, honestly.
But it's still it's the ramifications of the Wayne family over the entire universe that they deal with, including Vicky Vale, which for me she means nothing in the comic books. So this was her first opportunity. It was like, oh, they're actually doing something interesting with her, because otherwise she's just the girl that Michael Keaton had sex with in a movie once. I don't remember her in any other thing. She was obviously in the Arkham games as the reporter.
Who was wasn't Nicole Kidman in a Batman?
She was Meridian Chase, who's a character I don't think exists. I don't know, but it was person.
Vicky, and then it was Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, and then
Meridian Chase, who her whole thing was I want to fuck Batman
and then it was Pamela Isley. Was that the next one?
Technically, there was a model that he was dating, but yeah, Pamela Isley was there too.
And then we got the Nolan stuff.
And then we got, what was her name? Oh,
Rachel!
Oh, God. Why?
Rachel. So
yeah, okay, to answer your question. So you said anytime it gets ported to the big screen or small screen or something like that, is that a reboot? No, that's just a different medium to tell a story. I think to be an actual reboot, it has to be confined to the same medium. So to transport it from the comic books to the the big screen, that's not a reboot. That's just
even if it told the exact same story.
You're just making
when the Killing Joke came to theaters.
They did not tell the exact same story.
No, they added 40 minutes there. You're right about that.
40 minutes, which totally altered the entire rest of what should matter with that story.
All right, maybe that was a poor example.
I just pretend that doesn't exist. And
I do too. I mentioned, I don't know if I was talking to you guys the other day, but no, I forget who it was, but that movie made me borderline happy when Barbara got shot, just because she was so annoying in that opening 20 or 30 minutes or whatever it was.
It's literally like why won't he call me back? That's just what the beginning of the movie is. He's like, why won't he call me again?
It was, that's not what I want for my Batman. Anyway, I think it has to be confined to the same medium that it was born within. If you're going to reboot it, comics are. Back to comics, I guess, for a second too. Like that, that is such an easy platform to reboot something, because I think the only thing it takes to really I think there's a difference between a full-on reboot though too, and then just telling a story and starting from the beginning. Like if you look at American Alien, the Superman story, he's starting from the beginning of Clark's story, so it's kind of a reboot, but at the same time it's a miniseries, and that's all it is. So he's starting at one point and he's ending at one point, so it's not really a reboot. I think to do a full reboot, it has to be like
it not necessarily beginning with Star Wars.
Yeah, not necessarily starting from issue 1, I don't think, but like a hard like, okay, we're stopping here, and when we pick up here, it's going to be in a completely different place.
Yeah, I think
things are going to be happening.
I think it becomes like canonical, you know,
yeah.
like how the New 52 is part of that timeline, you know, and it always will be. Whereas like something like American Alien or like Long Halloween are like totally different. Well, is Long Out? Yeah, no, they're like totally different entities, even though sometimes they might reference it to it.
Sure.
Is Long Halloween canonical? I thought it was.
I
guess
because was it Jeff Loeb who wrote that?
Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Tim Sale, yeah, they did that, and they had a longer run besides just the Long Halloween. I mean, that's the marquee book in that series,
and
but
there's
also
Dark Victory and something
Dark
else.
Victory, and then it's the orange covered one.
Yeah, but I don't think those are within like when DC at that time, like DC's Batman. You know, I think that was its own story.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, like there's years upon years of like backstory with Star Wars, right? But we all kind of threw that away when the new stuff started.
Some people didn't.
Well, I'm saying about it still. They still cry. I'm saying those still exist. Like technically, that was all non-canon, but those stories still exist. The other like great example where I feel like a reboot was done really well was actually Star Trek, because it still references all the old stuff in a big bad way, but begins anew again. Like it's the Back to the Future timeline of like everything that happened still happened, but then there's like a left turn at one point.
Well, Star Trek's a good. It's kind of an easy thing to reboot with the way that they did it, because I mean, they go back to that starting point, which we had never seen before, and then you start there, and then every other movie is almost just kind of like an episode where you don't really have to see the previous movie to know what's going on in this one. It's just like you pick up and it's like, oh, okay, here's what happened. But you can also assume at the same time that all of the old TV shows or other adventures they go on, that gets kind of confusing because of how J.J. Abrams did the whole time travel.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I'm saying it doesn't invalid. Like, you know, like we watched the Power Rangers movie. That is a fresh start. That's all it is.
Yep.
Like you have to start there. With the remake or with the reboot, all the stories that came before it still exist, which is really awesome. Like,
and you know, you bringing that up reminds me of probably one of the better superhero reboots, which is X-Men Days of Future Past, where they essentially just retconned all the previous movies, but did it without actually restarting entirely from the beginning. Like they took that lineage.
I really don't think that movie.
I don't know. I mean, what's come after it though?
Unfortunately, Apocalypse and Logan.
Which I mean, but Logan, like they totally threw all of the canon out the window again. So,
technically not. I mean, that technically takes place after that. I'm saying like. You can technically still enjoy those stories if you want to watch X-Men: The Last Stand, but if you watch it, obviously, I'm sorry, what is that movie again?
Future Past.
Technically, yes, it does erase all those stories, but you can still watch how they got to the point in which they had to go back in time. So, I don't know, like it was cool because the First Class was supposed to be a reboot, like that was supposed to be the reboot.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're like,
it's how they tied everything together.
Well, that's my problem. I didn't need everything tied together. Like we could have just gone straight to Apocalypse or whatever you want the next one to be, for all I care. And you could have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Like I wouldn't have cared. Like I would have been like, yeah, this doesn't make sense, but sure, whatever, let's go.
Yeah.
Which they kind of did because he shows up in that movie.
Well, he doesn't say who he is. He doesn't do any Wolverine-like things. He just tells them to fuck off. Which is kind of funny. So it's just a cool cameo. Or like Rebecca Romijn Stamos showed up,
That was First Class, yeah. I think Logan was talking about Apocalypse, where he shows up.
No, I was talking about First Class.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that popped in my head is like, is James Bond arguably the best reboot franchise, most successful ever?
Do we consider every movie a new reboot practically?
No, each new actor.
I've always considered
like Doctor Who
movies as not sequential, and other than like the ones that are, I suppose, but like they're their own
the Daniel
separate.
Craig ones are quite literally.
Yeah, but I think I've always considered them just different stories that don't necessarily need to be like part of the same thing. So like Doctor No, I mean I don't know because I haven't really seen these things that like really at all. But like one story from the same character or same actor may not be connected to the other story of the same actor. It's just stories, and James Bond is the avatar for those stories.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it's still it's arguably the most successful then, right? Even with that train of thought. Because then you're just saying it's a new story every time.
It's the most long-lasting, right? Because it's like 20 years of movies, and there's been consistent movies.
Yeah,
it's like
and
40, 50 years of movies. Also, Roger Moore died today.
Yeah, rest in peace, homie. He was also in Spice World. That's how I remember him.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but that's my grandpa's name. I think I mentioned that on the. Did I mention that on the James Bond episode that we had?
I think you did.
Yeah. So that was weird this morning. Everybody's like, Roger Moore's dead. And I'm like, hold on. What?
Oh, no. Check on grandpa. Oh, man.
I love James Bond. So, but I was thinking about that as we've been talking here, and and then in light of today's news, that also helped. I was like, they really kind of have.
Okay, so if you think that's the best movie reboot, then what's the best?
Well, no, it was just most successful.
Okay, best, most successful, whatever. What's the best with video games then? Which is a bit harder because
it happens all the time.
I mean, does it?
Do you count Zelda?
No.
Those are
Zelda would have.
Zelda
has two definitive points, which would be from Link Between Worlds to Ocarina, because that's a transition in style, and then I would argue Breath of the Wild is kind of a reboot as well. But I would do those at those 2 points. Like that's when the game shifts. But everything in between.
Did you say Link Between Worlds? It shifted.
I'm sorry, from Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time. I'm sorry, got those games mixed up.
No, that's just a franchise to me. Like that's saying like Mario was rebooted with 64. It's like no, the technology just bettered to the point where you were able to do something different.
It completely changed the game, though.
True, but it's not a reboot. Again, like that's just something that wasn't able to have been done before, strictly because of limitations of the hardware.
So would Red Dead be a good example? Because it is from a series. Technically, it is part of a series, but nobody remembers the other half.
Yeah, Red Dead's not a bad example. Red Dead
Max Payne 3 would fall in that category too, then.
But isn't that that's a continuation, isn't it?
No. I played 1 and 2, and they definitely bring up certain aspects of those in 3.
They do, but it's a completely different studio, that's what Red Dead.
I mean, if you're referencing things from previous titles, that's not
Red Dead Redemption's the sequel to Red Dead Revolver.
Yeah, but there's nothing that's
they
ever mentioned.
Don't connect, and yeah, like I feel like
there's no link between the two really, besides Cowboys.
Okay,
I'm trying to think like.
I just know Tomb Raider and Doom.
Tomb Raider and Doom are like the best examples.
The best were like recent examples is
Metroid Prime.
Texas. Well, that's
still that kind of falls into the logical next. Not logical, but like this is just the next.
The Super Mario, the Zelda. Do you think like that's what that would be?
Yeah,
I think it's a reimagining of it.
I feel like Metroid Prime was long enough. From what was the last one before that? Super Metroid, which was like 94. I can't remember. 94?
Early 90s.
And then like Metroid Prime was 2000, I think.
I think to be a proper reboot, you need to say, okay, all new things begin from this point. Go. And that is like So Doom is a good. It's not a narrative thing necessarily. Like, let's look at Star Wars Battlefront again. No narrative with that game, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 is coming out later this fall.
Yeah,
so that was just the reset point for that franchise for moving forward. Same with Tomb Raider. Doom, I don't know if they made another one, if it would be called Doom 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
know what they do with that.
I honestly don't know if. I mean, I think Doom is a reboot, but at the same time, I'm not.
No, Doom's a reboot.
Okay, how about Prey? Because I haven't played it, but I think a lot of people enjoy
Prey's
it.
Yes,
it's a reimagined reboot.
No, I'm gonna say no on.
Hold on a second. So if Point Break, the movie, had a reboot, and that was technically a reboot, then Prey is definitely also a reboot.
Prey's not a reboot.
Prey to the original Prey is Point Break to Fast and the Furious, where they're totally two separate things. But they're both awesome.
There was a Point Break reboot. That's
I know, but nobody cares.
That's what I'm saying. Well, except people do care about Prey. I want to play Prey, but like,
no, I meant Point Break remake.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, there's Point Break, right? First one, great movie, loved it, great. Okay, uses the same names of people. Well, this is where it gets kind of weird.
Does it?
I don't remember, but it just uses. Like cool sports
stuff.
First off,
I just want to say that you watched the Point Break reboot.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
I didn't watch it. I'm just saying that if that could be considered a reboot.
No, right? that's a reboot.
Then Prey would be considered a reboot.
I put my foot. I still say no on Prey because, and this gets into the logistics of myself knowing too much about what happens with video game developers. They just had that IP and they wanted to use it on something, and they're like, again, hey, we're making this space game, and they're like, all right, that's called Prey now.
Again, same thing with Point Break. Legitimately has nothing, like, it's not.
I know, but from its inception, that was supposed to be Point Break, though, right? It wasn't like, hey, we're filming this movie. What should we call it? And they're like, hey, well, let's just make it Point Break. Like,
what was the movie that actually did that?
I don't know for certain with the newest Prey if that's what happened, but that's what it seems like. Like they just decided to attach that IP to this game because this game's been in development for years at this point, and the Prey 2 thing didn't really fall apart until a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I mean enough for a dev cycle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So.
There are a lot of games that have totally, like Star Fox Adventure was a game that totally did that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Dinosaur Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mario 2, Super Mario Bros. 2.
2 is just a reskinning of a game.
Or what's it called?
Yeah.
Doki Doki Panic.
Like that. Yeah. We're getting another good one from last year, though. Ratchet and Clank. That's a reboot.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also kind of a remake.
Is it?
But
that's a remake.
I don't really know. It's a remake.
I mean,
video games are more complicated than they should
complicated.
be.
Yeah.
Because it takes place after. It doesn't matter. Video games are video games. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then that game ties into the movie.
Sort of.
Which is... Now we're in real deep. And now there's an Uncharted movie that's going to be a prequel.
No, there's not.
Spider-Man.
You mean a young Indiana Jones movie?
There's not. All right, I haven't tweeted about this, but I just want to get this off my chest, and I'll do it here on this podcast. There's not an Uncharted movie. Can we move on with our lives? They have cast Tom Holland for a movie that has no script. They trashed the script. There's no script currently for this movie.
Hey, Logan, to be fair, you were supposed to write a script all semester and it came together right at the last minute. So
yeah, but I have also not been writing that script. This script has been in production since I think 2008 or 9.
Sony can do whatever they want.
Well, it's been. Yeah, I was gonna say because it's been flipped from like
this movie
Seth
has
Rogen.
been in production for almost a decade at this point. It is not.
Carnahan was the last one. Like, what the David Carnahan is his name, right? We can't get anything done.
I heard supposedly the script they had was really good too.
Oh God!
They still trashed that.
Oh Lord!
So they now have young little Spider-Man
Young Indiana Jones
playing Nathan Drake, even though technically, and it also doesn't make sense because it's Sony, and Sony still kind of owns Spider-Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But now they want him to play Nathan Drake.
But
and
hey,
this doesn't make any sense.
They're also making a Venom movie that's not connected to Marvel Cinematic Universe. And oh my God, Black Cat and Silver Sable.
I didn't know bringing this up would do this.
No, they have their whole other movie that is Black Cat and Silver Sable.
Are they still making the Ant-Man movie?
I don't think so. Please no. Please don't.
They're making a new Ant-Man movie.
Aunt May.
Aunt May.
Oh,
Aunt May the movie.
Isn't
that was a thing for a while?
There was a comic book back in the day where it was like Aunt May is young and then she meets like Ben Parker. And they bang on a beach or something. I'm pretty sure.
One of my favorite comic book covers ever is the one where Aunt May is marrying Dr. Octopus.
That's a great cover.
That's a really great cover.
It's a really great cover.
All right. I think we've done the reboot thing. Is there anything else? Like, I can't think of any other reboot or point to bring up.
Well, I was gonna say the only other thing I'll mention is that sometimes you get a divorce and you got to reboot your marriage.
Why are you saying that?
I don't know, because it's like past midnight and I'm acting stupid.
I'm getting married in like 4 or 5 months. I don't need to hear about divorce and rebooting marriage.
Max, just put those words into context. Think about them for a little bit and pine over.
Jeez,
I don't know what.
just think about your, never mind. This sounds really bad. Never mind.
No, you're gonna stop right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop right there.
We're good. You guys want to call it there? Is there anything else? I don't know how long this has been going on.
It's an hour.
We're
Around an hour?
Yeah.
All right. Fine. Well, that was, according to the intro, that was this edition of the Model Citizen Show. Where we
I should have wrote the closing part too.
You should have. I realized that just now.
Dang it.
To close us out, what is up, fellow citizens, and welcome to the #1 podcast that discusses the greatest family story in cinema. Thanks for joining us this week as we talked about reboots. Like I said at the top of the show, make sure you check out everything at modelcitizensmedia.com, where you can check out all our other podcasts. We do a video game podcast every week, Logan and I, called Millennial Gaming Speak. Logan and Michael do is it now bi-weekly?
Bi-monthly.
Yeah. Bi-monthly, so 2 a month. A music show called Reeling in the Years, where they break down a certain year in music.
We promise it'll be back.
It's making a comeback. They're doing a reboot.
By the time you hear this, it'll be up. So I'm sorry.
There will be a reboot. And then our other show is Behind the Pixel.
Pixel.
It's Behind the Pixel. It's an interview show that I host with different people in the gaming industry. The next episode goes up on June 5th, which just so happens to be my birthday. So you should all listen to it because it's my birthday.
When it gets released, is it going to be the top of the morning?
I mean, I don't get the joke, but yes, technically it'll be in the morning. So
will you have a nice Guinness pint with that? With that?
No, I don't drink Guinness.
With that beneath the pixel?
Behind the pixel, good God.
You're going to be saying beneath after the pint of Guinness.
Jesus.
You don't even know what it is.
Oh my!
Make sure you follow us all on Twitter. You can follow the show, the network, over at Model Pods. You can follow Logan at Moreman12. You can follow Michael at super_Ruse. That's ROOZ. And Mario at that Mario Rivera. And I am at Max the White.
Supremacist.
At Max the White. You can listen to all our shows on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Millennium Gaming Speak is on SoundCloud and all sorts of fun podcast apps that you listen to. Check it all out on YouTube as well, where you can watch the videos. Give us a thumb up, like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. I think that's everything that I'm supposed to say.
Who wants to do next week's intro? Like, who wants to write it for which one of us?
I think
I'll host because I haven't hosted in a really long time.
Okay, who's writing it for Michael?
I thought
you want to pay back?
I was gonna say I think like the person that had to read it should write it for the next person, and then like just keep passing the baton, so to speak.
I give you permission, Max. If you're writing it, you could be as mean as you want. I want to read it, dude.
I'll whip something up for you.
I really want to see what you're made of as far as insults, because I don't think you got it in you.
I really don't. Do you remember? Did you ever play Sly Cooper 3?
No.
Oh my gosh. There's a level like to get into where you need to go in this pirate level. You have like a name calling contest with this pirate, and you have to come up with mean insults on the spot. And sure, they're all pre-generated, but that what you just said reminded me.
Did you always pick the wrong one then?
I guess. I don't know. It was, yeah, I'm not the meanest person I know. So,
but I want you to take this opportunity to get all your frustrations out.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you're stressed. I'm sure you got a wedding to plan. You got things to do. You got to find a job. You got to all this stuff. I want these frustrations. I want to see them on the paper. I want to see them on the paper.
All right. I'll write in all caps or something for you.
Oh my God.
I want it to be like mid-sentence. Can it be mid-sentence?
The most insulting thing you could probably do is just write in Comic Sans. Not be like, Jesus Christ.
I can whip that up for you. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you all next week.
And remember that the Maharaja is the champ.
Happy 10 episodes.
Don't hinder Jinder.